Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for stopping by today. Today I am going to be using this super awesome Clear Cuts 6x8 pad from Illustrated Faith. This is the You Are Loved. It is full of these amazing acetate sheets. And when I saw the one that I'm going to use, I think I saw it on Instagram in a Bible journaling layout. I was like, I have to have that. I'm going to find a way to use it on a card. And the card that I made with it, I think it is maybe one of my favorites ever. So I wanted to flip you through this pad here and show you what comes in the acetate pad. These are all acetate. They're clear and see-through, which is why I'm laying it on the white cover of this pad here so that you can see it. Now, this is the one that I saw on Instagram and I was like, I have to have it. I have to have it. And so it comes with a few sheets of like sentiments, and then each of these patterns, this pad has 2 of each of these patterned acetates. So that really fun, like dry brushed, colorful, painted acetate that I'm going to be using today, there's 2 of them in this pad. Now, each of these acetate sheets has a protective cover over it. So you do want to pull that off before you actually put it on your project. I'm going to leave it on while I'm cutting just so I don't get any fingerprints or scratch marks on it, because that can happen with acetate. So I'm just going to leave the protective cover on as I trim it down. Now, you see that little strip there? I am actually going to save that and make a ruler or a bookmark in my planner for it. But I've gone ahead and cut down this entire sheet to be slightly smaller than the front of an A2 size card. And I end up trimming it a little bit more. I think it's 1/8 of an inch shy, or maybe 1/4 total, something like that. But I just kind of eyeballed it. And I have that acetate ready to go on my card front, and I'm going to do a little die cutting. I'm starting out with this punchinella or punchinella. I don't know how to say it. I can't help it. That die is from Neat and Tangled, and this card really has like this kind of almost mixed media feel to it because of all the layers and the paint and that sort of thing. But I cut that punchinella die out of some Essentials by Ellen vellum. That is a heavyweight vellum. And then I use this happy die. Now, this is from the Concord and Ninth Happy Card Frame die, and it's meant to kind of nestle within the frame. You saw the set there. It had the frame included. But if you cut it by itself and just trim up the sides, you can use these sentiments on their own, which is what I'm going to do today. So it's really versatile. You can have it either suspended within the frame, or you can use it by itself. And they have some coordinating dies that they've made to add on to that frame as well. So those are available, which is really cool. Now, I did cut out that XOXO and I decided not to use it, but I wanted to show you it would be a fun idea to use some of those sentiments along with it. But I decided to go ahead and complete my sentiment with this kind-hearted stamp set from Concord and Ninth. So there's 2 stamps. One said "You're my" and then "of person." So it kind of is meant to go "you're my kind of person," but I wanted to say "happy you're my person." So I just trim my stamp down, that I just trim that "of" off. Now, if I want to mount them together and use them as they were originally intended, I can definitely do that. But for this card, I thought it would be really fun to say "happy you're my person." Now, I went ahead and mounted those together on my block. I stamped them on some vellum, the Essentials by Ellen 43-pound vellum in some Versamark ink. I went ahead and added some superfine detail white embossing powder. I heat set that, and then I took it over to my trimmer and trimmed it into a little strip. Now I'm just taking that strip and I'm cutting it into a banner end, and here's where I kind of nixed that XOXO. I thought it would be fun, but I just felt like the layout was getting a little too crowded with it on there. Now, when you're using acetate on a card, you kind of have to be creative with your adhesive. And so what I'm doing here, I'm holding all my pieces down with a piece of delicate surface painter's tape so that I have them all where I want them. And now I'm going to use my tiny attacher to attach all of those little pieces onto the surface of the vellum, and that way I won't have any adhesive showing, and I feel like it really adds to that kind of mixed media feel of this card. And once I got that all stapled down, I went ahead and removed that painter's tape. That was just to keep them in place temporarily. And you can see I am hiding some foam adhesive behind some of those elements that I have on the front of the card. Now, because the foam adhesive is white and I'm placing it onto a white card front, it is going to be disguised on there. So if you were putting this on a color colored card front, you may not be able to disguise that foam as easily. But since I was using a white card base, it worked in my favor. Now, I did think it would be fun to have a little bit of pattern peeking out from behind that acetate just to add to the effect that, hey, this is a clear piece of material that I'm using on the front of the card. You can kind of just see through it. So I went ahead and mounted my bold diagonal stripes background stamp onto my MISTI. Now, this is a cling stamp, so I did take out that black foam layer. And I have an A2 size card front on my MISTI there and a little piece of black cardstock to just keep it away from the edge, so I make sure I get it to the edge. And I am just inking up what is going to stamp on the right-hand side of this card. So it's actually the left-hand side of the stamp. I just inked up a portion of that and then kind of wiped away at the edge so I get this really rough edge. And I'm going to stamp it down onto my paper. You saw me pull my sleeve up over the heel of my hand so I could really slide my hand across the MISTI. That's just a trick I like to do. And then I'm left with this really fun kind of distressed stripe background. Now, I didn't want the stripes to go all the way to the left-hand edge because I want it to kind of fade off and I want that foam adhesive to be hidden on the white part of the card. And I also wanted a white border around the edge of that left-hand side of this acetate. So that's why I didn't want it to go all the way across. I just kind of wanted the pattern to peek out on the right side of that card where those kind of paint stripes end. So once I got that all done and ready, I went ahead and mounted my acetate piece with that foam adhesive onto that card front that I created. And I'm going to just use some ATG tape runner to glue that entire card front onto a Nina 110-pound solar white card base that's cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and then scored at 5 1/2. Now, I got this all mounted on there, and I just felt like it needed something a little extra. So I'm taking a few strips of, one's vellum, one's gold glitter cardstock, one is some black and white striped pattern paper that I created with that background stamp that I just used. And I cut them into little banner strips, and I'm just stapling them onto that top right-hand corner of that die cut that's there. And then I snuck a piece of foam adhesive behind the banners as well, and I'm going to sneak it in behind between the acetate and the card base eventually too. Now, these cute, adorable, colorful, like enamel hearts are from the Illustrated Faith collection as well. And so I took a few of those and I'm just positioning them, kind of scattering them on the front of the card. I thought they went really well with that painted background. And then I'm going to add just a touch of sparkle with a few sparkling clear sequins. Not a lot, but just a few to add a little sparkle in with those hearts as well. And here I'm just going to sneak a piece of foam adhesive between the card base and the acetate, and that's just going to hold that acetate in place even better. So when you have things like that on the front of your acetate, you can really use them to your advantage to kind of hide adhesive. Now, sometimes when you're using an acetate like this, you're going to have to get creative. That's why I used my tiny attacher, but also consider maybe stitching that onto your card base or your card front as well. That's another way that you can kind of attach acetate to the front of your cards. So that completes my card project for today. I am loving the happy, colorful vibe I am getting from this card. As always, I will have links to all the featured products in the description at YouTube, but head on over to my blog because I'll have more still shots, more information, and a complete list of supplies over there. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this project, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.